here?
Yes, sir.
Now, is there someplace I can sit out of camera angle?
I don't know that. I don't know that here, sir.
When we shut the door, I believe if you pull your chair close to the door, you'll be okay. And if you want me to double check that, I'll go look on camera, knock on the door, and we'll pull the chair back away, okay? Okay, I'll be right back. Thanks.
All right, while he's doing that, we just met in the hall. I'm Special Agent Hornick with BCI. And can you state your full name for me?
Sergeant David Darkow, D-A-R-K-O-W.
Okay. And my laptop's going to be a little bit in the way right now. We've got some video I want to show you later. That's why it's staged up there. You prefer to go by Dave, did you say?
Sure.
Okay, and I do the same. Dave, we talked about, and your attorney's in the room as well. Vincent Pop, is that correct, sir?
Correct.
Okay.
Where you're sitting, sir, is fine.
Okay.
First I'll be in a little bit anyway if I look at the video. That's all right. Thank you. Let me introduce myself real quick. I'm Dave Dark. I'm Brent Kirkpatrick with BCI. Good, thanks. Vince. Nice to meet you, Vince.
Okay, we also discussed that as a matter of course, we're assigned as BCI to investigate this outside of the police department. So we're investigating the shooting that occurred in the Walmart at Beaver Creek on August the 5th. Does that sound accurate? Correct. Know why you're here. In an instance like this, we are a criminal investigation agency, so we are investigating the possibility of criminal activity. With that being said, you're not forced to be here, you're not in custody, you're here voluntarily?
That's correct.
Okay. Even though that's so, even though your attorney's here, we still, as a matter of course for our agency, read Miranda waivers so you understand what your rights are and know that you do not have to talk with us.
I understand.
Okay. If you'll allow me, I'm going to read this out to you out loud. I know you're familiar, but that's the way we do it. We have to sign a couple of things and we'll move on from there.
Sure.
Okay. Dave, before we ask you any questions, you must understand your rights. You do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you in court or other proceedings. You have the right to talk to a lawyer for advice before we ask you any questions, to have him or her present with you during questioning. If you can't afford a lawyer, one will be appointed for you before any questioning if you wish. If you decide to answer questions now without a lawyer present, again, we know he's present, you will still have the right to stop the questioning at any time. You have the right to stop the questioning at any time until you talk to an attorney. You understand those rights?
I do.
Okay. I need you to sign, please, date, and put the time right in there. We're on the 8th today, right?
Today's the 8th, correct.
August 8th. I've got about 10:20, Dave. Okay, and then we're going to trade off for a second here. I'm going to sign it as a witness. Okay, and there's a waiver of rights statements as well on ours. It says, I have read the statement of my rights in it, and it has been read to me, and I understand what my rights are. I'm willing to make a statement and answer questions. I do not want a lawyer at this time. It's here. I understand and know what I'm doing. No promises or threats have been made to me, and no pressure or coercion of any kind has been used against me. I hereby voluntarily and intentionally waive my rights and am willing to make a statement and answer questions. If you agree with that, Dave, same thing on the bottom there.
Should I cross out the part about the lawyer? I do not want a lawyer at this time since he's in the room.
We don't typically need to do that. It could be whatever your attorney wants to do.
Just leave it.
Yeah. Doesn't make intuitive sense, though, does it?
It's all right.
Mr. Pop, you might sign as a witness to that. I know you told me to call you Vince. Does that still apply?
Yes.
Okay.
For now.
Yeah, on both, please. Sorry about that.
Top line there underneath.
There's 2 witness lines there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Got it.
Thank you. Okay, Dave, again, we're here to discuss what occurred at the Walmart on the 5th. That would be Wednesday the 5th. Tuesday the 5th. Tuesday night the 5th. So I'm going to take some notes as we go through. I do want to get a couple more bits of information from you just to verify. You told me you're Sergeant David Darkow, your rank is Sergeant. What's your badge number, Dave?
70.
Is that the same as your radio call sign?
Yes.
Okay. How many years experience do you have with the department?
17.
17. Is that all with Beaver Creek in your law enforcement experience?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Let's just go right to it. Let's go to the Tuesday night. Start wherever you like to.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking at what's your first knowledge of an incident at Walmart was. If you can start earlier than that, go ahead, but take me through it. We're going to ask you a lot of questions. I'm going to try to let you go through it once the first time and tell us what happened.
Okay. I was speaking with Sergeant Spangler, who was off duty. I was parked outside of his house at the curb. We were just chatting about whatever, personal stuff.
Outside where at the curb, Dave?
Right outside of Sergeant Spangler's residence.
Okay.
He lives, he lives back in that plat. So I was fairly close to where the incident had occurred when it came out.
You were on duty?
I was on duty.
Okay.
Sergeant Spangler was off duty.
Okay.
It's a friend of mine, so sometimes I'll go over there, we'll chat about stuff. Since I don't see him,
right.
Sometimes,
okay.
I go over there and we discuss work-related things or personal things, whatever.
Okay.
So I was sitting there talking to him when the initial call came out.
Approximate time?
8:20.
Okay. 8 p.m. thereafter.
Correct. Okay. Dispatch came over the radio, sent officers to Walmart on it was a weapons complaint that was being called in on 911. And I remember the broadcast saying that there was a man inside with a gun.
Okay.
So I immediately left Sergeant Spangler's residence and started heading to that location. Officers, I did not get on the radio to say I was en route, simply because I didn't want to tie up radio time. And I had other officers who were responding to dispatch saying they were en route.
Okay.
If I take over the radio, nobody else can talk.
Understood.
So I just go.
Yeah.
Responded code 3 to the area of Walmart. While I was en route, there was a couple more broadcasts from dispatch saying that the caller was reporting that he believed the subject was in the pet supply area of Walmart, that he was in the corner, and that he believed he was loading the gun. Dispatch at one point also advised that he believed it was a rifle. So they maintained contact with the initial caller and they were able to give us updates as we were responding to the scene. I'm pretty familiar with that store. I've worked in there for all kinds of calls and extra duty during the holidays. So I knew where the pet supply area was. And when I pulled in over by the Sam's. That's where I entered the lot at the Sam's location.
Okay.
So I knew the closest entrance was that garden area, the outdoor area of Walmart. And so I came in that direction, responded right to those doors, because if he was in the pet area, that garden entrance would have put me literally right around the corner. As soon as I entered the store from the garden area, it would have taken me right to the pet area, which would have been on my right. So I go up, I park. I see that Sean had already called 3-7. I had heard that he was already on scene.
Sean being who?
Sean Williams, officer that works 11 to 11.
Okay.
And I had heard he was already on scene. I didn't know where he was until I pulled up, and then he came running up to my location. He had a rifle. We knew that the subject who was inside was possibly armed with a rifle. That's what was being reported to us. And so I went, as soon as I pulled up, I went to the back. In the supervisor's cars, we keep our rifle, shotgun, and less lethal gun in a vault container in the back. So I went around to the back, grabbed the service rifle from the vault in the car, and grabbed a tactical vest that belongs to Sergeant Molnar. Him and I share a car, and so it's known that that we'll share that tactical vest. And it has extra mags for the AR, tactical equipment, that type of thing.
Okay.
So I grabbed that vest, throw that around, load my AR, and now Sean has his AR, I have my AR, and we tried to enter through the garden area, which would have been the closest area to where the suspect was.
And you say AR, you mean AR-15?
AR-15,
Okay.
department issued assault rifle, although Sean Williams, I think, is his personal assault rifle.
All right.
So we attempted to go through those garden doors, and the doors were locked, unfortunately. This caused us to both have to respond to the next set of doors into Walmart, which would be closest to the pharmacy type area.
Okay.
So it'd be the westernmost entrance that was open.
Okay. And so we can understand the layout. When you responded to the garden doors that were locked, is that in the front or the side of the building?
Front of the building.
Okay. And the other entrance that you went to is also in the front of the building?
Correct.
Okay.
So it'd be the next western entrance,
Gotcha.
or I'm sorry, it would be the most western entrance, but it was to the east of the garden doors.
Got it. Okay.
So we walk in, and immediately, we're at a brisk pace, and I immediately see that a greeter's still at the front entrance. It appeared as though some of the people around there had no idea what was going on. So I started giving commands to the greeter to get cover, get down. I believe Sean was also telling people to get out, take cover, this type of thing.
Okay.
We both are familiar with the store, so we walk in that entrance, go left down the aisle, past the pharmacy, heading towards the pet supply area.
Is it like a center aisle? Is it a side aisle? I mean, it's not the side of the building aisle. It's more one of the. I know you have many center aisles, but it's one that's in toward the center.
This is the aisle we're headed down is one of their main aisles that extends all the way across the store.
One of several that extend all the way to the back, front to back. Correct.
We're going sideways. We're going side
Okay.
at this point. We go in the front entrance, we go left, and now we're headed west through the store.
Gotcha.
This aisle goes all the way from the garden access doors,
Gotcha.
all the way to the produce.
Okay.
So it would go all the way through, cutting the store all the way.
And I want to keep you talking on that. The pet section is in. You sound very familiar with the directionality of the store. The pet section is in what corner of the store?
It is in the southwest corner of the store.
Okay, and that's the southwest corner of the store. Is it front corner or back corner?
Front.
Okay. Go ahead, Dave. Thanks.
Okay, so we're both moving in tandem at a brisk pace, not a run, but a brisk walk. We start, we enter the pet supply area and don't hear or see anything initially, so we start, walking as we're clearing each aisle, as we're walking back to that corner location. Nobody else in the pet area, from what I remember at the time. We finally get to the very last aisle, and I realize that there's a fairly good chance that he's probably back there since we haven't come across him yet.
You've cleared all the other aisles.
Right,
No
we're
present
clearing
there.
them to our left as we're walking back west.
Okay.
So we're clearing each aisle. We get to the very last one, and I remember slowing up a bit because I figured he's probably in that very last aisle. Have my rifle at low ready, and I glance around that last aisle end cap, and I see a male that fits the description that we were dispatched to. He's standing in the corner of the store. He has a rifle that looks very similar to what I know to be an AR-15 style assault weapon. He also has it in what I would refer to as a low ready type position, where his left hand is on the foregrip of the rifle, and his right hand is near the action portion of the rifle. I had less of a view of his right hand because it was covered by the rifle, but I remember him holding the rifle in like a low ready type position. And he was more or less facing us at this point, or maybe slightly candid. It would be his right, our left. So I took up a position where I tried to stay a little bit behind cover to some degree at the end cap, glanced around the corner, and started giving him verbal commands to drop the gun.
What specifically did you say? That you recall?
It was either drop the gun or drop the weapon. But I was very loud and very clear.
Go ahead.
At this point, I remember Sean Williams, Officer Sean Williams. He was in a position where he was to my rear as we were going down the aisleways clearing them. And at this point, I remember he came around to my right. I was looking left. He came around to my right and took a position further out in the aisle. So I'm focused in on the suspect. I give him commands. I remember Sean also yelling a command. I believe he said something very similar to me, drop the weapon. And then I yelled at one point for him to get on the ground. And when I first yelled, drop the gun or drop the weapon, I remember he had a look of shock when he realized that we were there. Still had the gun, but kind of looked up and had a shocking look on his face and kind of stepped back. At that point, despite our repeated attempts to tell him to put the gun down and get on the ground, he did neither, and he started moving in an eastern direction. So he kind of turned back and to his right, my left, and it acted as though he was either going to start running or take a position of cover behind the aisle. That's when I heard two shots go out from my right, and I knew it was coming from Sean Williams, Officer Sean Williams' rifle. Any questions?
Let you continue on from there. What happened after the shots were fired?
After the shots are fired, the suspect goes down. And the only thing I can tell you is that when he ran to my left, to his right, when he started to go down that area, I was better covered in my position, but I had less of a vantage point on him because now he's going down the aisle that I'm taking cover behind. I remember thinking, I didn't know if he was hit or not, but he did go down in that direction. And so I remember thinking, well, I've got to get back to this other aisle in case he didn't.
Right.
He suddenly started to get back up, and that's when it crossed my mind that maybe he didn't get hit. Like maybe he just fell because he had tripped or something.
Yeah.
And so I remember thinking, I'm gonna have to get over to this next aisle for when if he makes it over that.
Yeah.
He didn't. He went back down again and stayed there. Sean approached, and then I approached and hit the suspect. I covered.
And he's down now.
He's down now. I immediately radioed for the shots fired, and I needed an ambulance on my radio. It's right here. And then kind of covered Sean. Sean went up, handcuffed him. I do recall after the shots went off, the suspect, I believe he muttered something after the two shots. There was two shots that went off from Sean's rifle. I believe the suspect may have muttered something after the shots, but I have no idea what it was. My right ear was ringing. It was completely numb. That's where the rounds had gone off. So if he said anything or muttered anything, I wouldn't be able to tell you.
And again, that's after the shots were fired that you heard him possibly saying things.
Yes.
Okay. How's your ear now?
It's okay now. It was ringing off and on for probably about 2 days.
Yeah. Did you see anybody forward or anything yet?
No.
Medical. Okay. Are you on admin leave now?
Yes.
David? Okay. And that's just department protocol typically, is the way they explain it to you?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, he's down. Sean cuffed him. You call him for medical assistance, and just go from there. You're still there for a while. What else is going on?
Yeah. At that point, we started to, the other officers began arriving on scene. And my officers are great at thinking what needs to be done and doing it. Every once in a while, someone would ask me, what they wanted, or what I wanted them to do, and basically, I was directing them to get everybody out of the store, but contain outside so that we had witnesses.
Gotcha.
And I wanted the people out,
Right.
but not to leave. So I was trying to give them direction to evacuate people out, but maintain our witnesses once we got out there.
Sure.
Cordon off the scene. Somebody brought in tape. I can't tell you who it was.
Good enough on that. Yeah.
Brought in tape and started cordoning off the area. I remember Sean yelling for Stahl to go get his first aid kit, which was a great move. So Officer Stahl, after when it responded to his vehicle, his cruiser, got our first aid kit, and Officer Sean Williams and Officer Matt Stahl began attempting first aid by using a tourniquet.
Okay. So suspect bleeding.
Suspect's bleeding. I would call it kind of a labor breathing.
Okay.
I could see that his elbow was shattered, and I could see that he was on his belly. He was cuffed, and I could see that he was bleeding from another location. It wasn't necessarily his elbow. But it was clear that there was other injuries. I don't know where.
Okay.
But it was coming out of probably this area because the blood was starting to pool there. His eyes were open for some time, but then they started to roll back in his head, and his breathing started becoming more laborious.
All right. And then anything more pertinent at that point? Can we ask you some more questions until EMS arrives as far as the medical? You guys did what you could. EMS does arrive, correct?
EMS arrives, and after they arrived, my role became more of one where I needed to deal with the officer that was involved at this point. Medical was there, and so I wanted to get the officer away from the scene at that point, and I secured his rifle. I gave him my rifle, and then I called for another medic for him.
You gave who your rifle?
Sean Williams, Officer Sean Williams.
Okay, so you took his rifle because it would have been involved in the shooting?
Correct.
Okay. And what's the purpose of giving him yours?
You know, I was always trained as a supervisor. You don't leave them unarmed, but you switch if you have to, and give him your weapon.
Okay.
So that he doesn't feel like he's weaponless.
Okay, so that matches up to your training.
Correct.
Okay. To take us a little further, what else?
Okay, I secured his rifle outside in the rear of my cruiser. And the rest of my interaction really dealt with Sean Williams, Officer Sean Williams, and seeing to it that he got medical attention and was transported to the hospital. It should probably be noted that Sergeant Molinar was leaving work at the time this went out.
Okay.
He was still at the building, and so he heard it over the radio and immediately came up to the scene. Sergeant Molinar did a great job at taking over a command, incident command at the scene, since I was in no position to be doing that.
Okay.
And he orchestrated a lot of the efforts between us, the fire department, mutual aid who was responding in, Greene County Sheriff's deputies responded. Yeah. We got Fairborn,
right.
Greene County, I think Wright State may have come. So, I mean, there was a lot. You know, we had a medical issue that was also going on from a female who had gone down because of a medical issue, completely unrelated as far as the shooting's concerned, but was there at the same time. So we had two people that were having unrelated medical some incidents of some kind, and then the suspects.
So you're saying there was 3 total?
We had three medics responding to those 3 people, and then I was calling for a 4th medic for Officer Sean Williams.
Okay.
So it was kind of a big scene.
Was calling for Williams, was he actually hurt, or was it more a protocol of the situation?
Again, I've always been trained that that's what you do when an officer is involved in a shooting, is you call a medical. You don't know what's going on internally with them. You just it's precautionary, but also it's a traumatic incident. So post-traumatic, you want to make sure that they're well taken care of. Check his vitals, transport to the hospital, just get them checked over. So it was procedural, but that's how I've been trained.
Okay. So when you're referring to those extra medical instances, you had the suspect,
yes,
the young lady who unfortunately passed away of the heart condition, and then what was the other situation? You know,
I learned later that there was another female who was pregnant.
Okay,
possibly.
So you don't have to comment anything those you learned later. You weren't directly aware or involved in the other 2 medical incidents.
I knew that medics were responding for people that were having some kind of medical issue, but I wasn't involved in those at all.
Good enough.
The only thing I did was I contacted Officer Nicely at one point to make sure that they had an AED for the girl that was having a heart attack, and she responded affirmative. They were trying the AED on her.
You made that call to the radio?
Yes.
Okay. And did you say, so you said you didn't call in on your response to the scene. Were you on the radio during that entire time for anything else?
While I was responding to the scene?
Yeah.
Only no, I think my first broadcast was to tell them that I was on scene.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And we're going to play some radio traffic for you so you can identify yourself and go back and refresh your memory on what's occurring. We're going to take you through it several times, Dave, with a lot of questions. But I did want to point out, we are here at the time of your choosing because you have a closing on your house today, correct?
I do.
Okay. What time does that occur?
1.
Okay. And it's about 10:45 right now, so We expect to have you out in plenty of time for that, but I want to make note of that, we tried to accommodate your time. We tried to accommodate getting in.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get through what we can here. And Dave, did you make a verbal statement to the department after the incident?
Yes.
Okay, was it verbal or written?
Verbal.
Okay, and recorded?
Yes.
Okay. Is there anything that you recall about that verbal statement that you feel needs to change at this time?
I don't think so.
Okay. And I know it's been a couple of days. I know it's very significant and potentially traumatic incident, so, you know, we understand any variability on that. But no written statement whatsoever, correct?
No.
Okay, and they just, as a department, they just took your statement and then put you on admin leave as a matter of department protocol?
Correct.
Okay. Dave, going back to the response, you stated that you were told there was a suspect armed in the Walmart and believed to be in the corner of the pet section or in the pet section, appeared to be loading a gun, and the gun appeared to be a rifle.
Correct.
Am I missing anything significant on those details?
At one point, I believe I remember Sean Williams getting on and asking dispatch over the radio if to confirm that he was waving it or pointing it at people, and
Okay.
dispatch said affirmative.
Okay, and that's...
And that's pretty significant.
Yes, sir. Staying with that for a minute, and I apologize, we might jump a little bit, but since we're on communications, when you and Williams are entering the store, you didn't really state that you guys had any verbal communication. Did you guys discuss anything going through?
As far as me and him before we entered, is that what you're...
Yeah, before, during, and
Like game plan type scenario.
You know, I don't recall a lot of verbal communication between. We both just kind of knew what to do.
you heard the same thing on the radio, you knew where you were going?
We knew, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we both knew the area. We both, you know, I parked over by the garden area, so I think Sean had parked on the other side, and when he saw me pull up, he walked my way.
Yep.
I think I'm only speculating that he figured that's where we were going to go in.
Okay.
So he came to me,
Mm-hmm.
but then those doors were locked, and so
You
there wasn't a lot of verbal communication between us. As soon as we entered the store, we were both communicating with other people,
right.
trying to. I don't remember
Fair enough.
If we had any type of communication. I'm not recalling that.
And your point being, seemingly, you guys have trained for situations like this, and there
We
wasn't
had
a lot.
just trained for situations like
Give me
this.
something on that. What would you train?
We had just had, some people call it an active shooter training, some people call it a quad training.
Okay.
We had just gone through that. Our training records can reflect the exact date,
Sure.
but it was within a month. I think we did it July. My platoon was a Thursday in July. Possibly even the 24th or something.
Okay.
I don't have my phone on me, so I
That's
can't.
no problem. Yeah, those details we can verify later.
Yeah, so you can imagine, I mean, it was within
Yeah.
weeks, we had just been through this training.
20 days was it? Or how many hours?
It was a 8-hour block of quad training.
Who ran that, do you remember?
Officer Suki runs that training for
Through
us.
this department?
In-house, yes.
Okay, in-house.
Yeah.
Had you had active shooter training before that time?
No, yeah, we have it annually.
Okay. Building clearings involved in that at all? Okay.
Building clearing, in fact, that was most of this training, this time was building training.
Okay. And you
Or
said...
building clearing, I'm sorry.
Good enough, yeah. You said that your platoon, you call your platoon, is that what you said?
Correct.
Okay, your platoon was involved in this training, and Sean Williams is part of your platoon?
Yeah, he is on my, well, He would have been with another platoon for this training.
Okay, but he's had this training recently as well?
Oh, yeah.
You guys
yeah.
have it annually?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's not directly under my platoon, even though he works 4 hours with me. He works on a power shift, so it's a little different.
You don't recall any communication with him walking through as you were clearing aisles, even to the point of, you stated at a certain point you told the suspect put the weapon down or put the gun down.
Yeah.
Did you have any communication directly with Officer Williams between that time at all that you recall?
No.
Okay. Do you recall stating either, again, put the gun down or put the weapon down? Do you recall if you had stated it multiple times, one time?
I know I stated it one time, and I know that I told him to get on the ground one time.
And this is before, you told him to get on the ground before any shots were fired?
I believe so.
Okay.
I believe I told him to get on the ground, or no, I'm sorry. I know for a fact that I told him to drop the gun. That was my first communication with him.
Okay.
That's when he kind of shockingly glanced over. That was the first time he knew we were there.
Okay.
And I know that Sean again told him to.
Right. Okay. Do you remember what Sean said?
It was drop your weapon, something to that effect.
Do you recall if he repeated it once, twice?
I only remember once.
Okay. How close in succession did he repeat commands after you, to the best of your recollection, Dave?
Time's tough under these circumstances.
Absolutely.
I mean, it was fairly close.
Okay.
It all happened very, very quickly. I mean,
Okay. And we're kind of to the meat of it here, and there's a lot of other kind of accessory questions, and I'm going to ask you some things that you've already stated, and I want to assure you I'm not trying to trip you up. It's so we get a clear understanding of what occurred, and it is tough to go through, especially in a critical incident like that, and have, a very solid recollection of all the key minor details. When you, according to what you said, you made first observation of the suspect before Williams did. Williams is on the other side of you. Does that sound accurate?
yeah, he was more to my rear as we were going down the aisles clearing them.
Okay, so to the best of your recollection, you would have seen the suspect first before, and you don't speak for Sean Williams, he's not here,
Right.
but in your mind, you probably saw the guy before Williams did.
I believe so.
Okay, so your command came first.
Right.
Did you run hot to the scene? Your vehicle, did you run hot to the scene?
Code 3, yeah.
Okay. Sirens, lights, everything going. Did you see anybody else's vehicle hot? Williams was there. If he ran hot, was his light still on?
No, I don't know, because he was right there.
Okay.
So I don't even know
Okay.
if he responded code 3 or not. He was over by the BP, which is located right beside Walmart.
Okay.
So he would have been literally in the same parking lot.
Okay.
And he parked over on the east side, towards the east side.
Mhm.
So I don't know. I never even saw his vehicle. When I got there, I pulled up.
Yep.
I immediately started to get out and go to the vault to get my weapon as he was walking up to me.
Okay. Is this a call like this? Is this something that changes your mind frame when you get a call of a armed suspect in a public store?
Absolutely.
Okay. When you received that call, did you immediately think to yourself that you may have to engage an armed suspect?
Yeah.
Okay. So you ran hot to the scene for that. You weren't running covertly.
No.
Okay. And
There was a couple times where I toggled my siren. My lights were on, but I toggled my siren on and off. And honestly, it's kind of, in my mind, it's kind of a toss-up because you have to clear intersections. You can't be a traffic hazard on your way there. But it's always in the back of my mind when I'm going to something like this that if I run up blazing with my siren, you can turn a situation into very quickly turn a situation into like a hostage situation.
Yeah.
At some point.
There's no strict training, black and white, that says you respond to this type of scene this way or this because you have imperfect information coming in on the radio. You know you've got an armed guy where there's civilians and possibly dozens, if not hundreds of them in a Walmart. You're doing what you think is the best under the situation and getting there and letting people know you're coming.
Yeah, and at the same time, I didn't want to turn, if you, for instance, it's like you're responding to a potential bank robbery.
Mm-hmm.
You go in blazing with your lights and siren, you can turn a bank robbery into a hostage situation very quickly.
Right.
If you come in, with your siren on. So as I'm responding, I toggled the siren on and off to try to, just try to prevent something like that from happening.
Great. And you stated also, so again, the suspect, to your knowledge, at least at that point, was in the front of the store.
Yes.
Near the front of the store. You're arriving in the front of the store.
Yes.
You're arriving hot, so your sirens are going. So that's an indication the police are on the way.
Yeah,
okay.
But I had killed the sirens, but, when I got into the parking lot, I killed the sirens.
Okay. But you entered the parking lot first before you shut them down? To the best of your recollection?
Yes.
Okay. And as soon
Because
as...
I jumped over the Pentagon intersection as I was coming down Commons.
Okay.
So I'm coming down Commons, and when I got through the Pentagon, that's a busy intersection.
Mm-hmm.
So I got through the Pentagon intersection, entered the Sam's, it would be the Sam's parking lot first.
Okay.
I believe I shut my sirens down at that point.
Okay.
Still had the lights going, but I shut the sirens down.
What was the reason for shutting them down?
The sirens?
Mm-hmm.
Just like I stated, I'm approaching the scene,
okay.
And just from a tactical standpoint.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And when you enter the store, you stated that you pretty much immediately were yelling at people to take cover.
Yeah. The first person we came to was the greeter.
Okay.
And I could tell the greeter had no idea what was going on.
Okay. What was your tone like? What was your volume like when you're telling them to take cover?
I would say it was a medium tone. I mean, I can have kind of a loud booming voice anyway.
Okay.
So I mean, I wasn't screaming
okay.
at them, but I was very direct.
Okay.
And said, get down, get cover.
Okay. Couple of times?
Yes.
All right. Did that, so that's in the direct front of the store, I'm assuming registers right there and so forth, the greeter?
No, the register.
So you're not even past the greeter area in the Walmart, which is the entrance section.
Yeah, the entrance section, they have, I call them a greeter, but really, they stand there and watch people as they're leaving.
Right.
So, so the registers, all the registers would have been to our right.
Okay. Did you say anything further to the people that you encountered at that point?
We both were telling people, get down, get cover. I remember at least twice yelling at people to get down and get cover.
Okay.
And then as we started going back towards the pharmacy area, and subsequently to the pet supply area,
mm-hmm.
It seemed like there was a lot less people. So I didn't.
Yeah.
I don't think I engaged anybody else at that point.
Okay.
And we didn't see anybody else at that point.
Okay. Did it seem like anybody was fleeing at that point or anything?
I don't remember anybody fleeing at that point.
Okay.
I was pretty focused on the aisles leading up to the pet and then the pet aisle. So my attention wasn't so much what was going on
mm-hmm.
in the store. It was to my left down the aisles.
Gotcha.
Pharmacy and then pet.
You're doing what you can to tell people there's a situation. You want them to be safe. It's sometimes you're not sure where to tell people to evacuate or take cover in those types of situations.
Yeah, we didn't know.
Okay. What uniform did you have on, if you did have one?
It's our summer uniform shirt.
Mm-hmm.
It's a polo shirt
mm-hmm.
with a badge
mm-hmm.
on this side, name on this side, police across the back, in big lettering.
You threw your vest over the uniform?
I did have a tactical vest over. It wasn't zipped up,
mm-hmm.
so it would have been open still.
Okay. Do you call if your tactical vest has police on the back of it as well?
I don't know.
Okay.
It's not. I don't own it.
Okay.
And I know. Yeah,
Okay.
Sergeant Molnar would know that. It's his vest.
You come in uniformed, you came in, at least up to the parking lot lights and sirens, telling people to take cover. Do you recall ever staying police at any point in the evening?
No.
Okay. You felt that your presence was identified at least by what you were wearing and
Yes.
in that situation.
Yes.
And again, you did tell the suspect to get down. You don't recall at that moment saying anything about police.
Correct.
Okay. Let's stick in the corner for a minute, Dave. When you first encountered the suspect, you said that you could observe he was holding a weapon.
Yes.
Okay, and you even went to specify that it looked like it could be an AR-15 or that type of
That
make.
style
Okay.
of assault rifle, yes.
Okay, and you had no other information than what you've already said about the weapon and what type it may be, or the authenticity of such weapon?
No, I mean, it looked exactly like an AR style rifle that, I've seen 100 times, and the information we were getting from dispatch was that he was possibly loading the rifle.
And that came across
before
radio
we-
traffic?
Yes.
Too? Okay.
When we were responding.
And you were aware that there was a witness, I think you even stated that, there was a witness right there giving information to dispatch, a witness in the store.
We
giving
had
information to
a
dispatch.
911 call. Our 911 caller was
Yeah.
still
Yeah.
online with dispatch.
Okay. Dave, we're almost 3 days from the incident now. Some of this has been released in the media. Are you aware at this point what that weapon was?
Yes.
Okay. When did you first become aware of that?
I got a call from Sergeant Molnar. I think it was later that night, after I was already home.
Okay. At any time during your response prior to the shooting, did anybody indicate to you he's holding a pellet gun?
No.
Okay.
In fact, when I left the scene to go to the hospital with Officer Williams, I was still under the impression that it was a real AR-15.
And that's how long after the shooting incident? Are we talking an hour? Are we talking?
Oh yeah, if the shooting occurred somewhere around 8:20 p.m., I wasn't released to go home until after midnight.
Okay, so hours
Yeah.
before you even. Okay.
I had no idea it
Before
was a
they-
pellet gun until I got a call at home.
Right, and it sounds like, Dave, you did everything you were trained to do as far as the response after the shooting, and you left it up to the incident commander coming on scene. They secured it. You guys had secured the suspect.
Yeah.
There's no other suspects involved that you could identify. So, as far as you know, everything was secured. Somebody had eyes on the weapon on the ground. Nobody. The priority wasn't to check that weapon at that time or clear that. It was to get
Right.
medical attention for the suspect. Is all that's inaccurate?
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
That's accurate. We had roped off the area. We had given attempted first aid to the suspect, got him removed. Then my attention turned to getting the officer medical attention, because the scene was secure at that point. We had mutual aid that was being called in to do secondary searches of the building to ensure there was no other suspects and no other problems, and try to get more people evacuated, because we were still getting reports that people were still locked in the pharmacy area. I don't think we ever found them, so I don't know where the delay came from, but we kept getting calls from people that were hunkered down in the pharmacy area.
Okay.
And I don't know what happened with them.
Okay, well.
Obviously they got out at some point.
Right.
But yeah, that's
Right.
the kind of chaotic scene we're dealing with.
Right. Lots of people in a Walmart at 8 o'clock on a Tuesday evening. Dave, so you're told the suspect has a weapon. As you responded to the scene, did you have any reason to believe that he wasn't armed?
No.
You
I had every reason to believe he was armed with a rifle, and he was possibly loading that rifle.
Okay, and even to the extent where someone said he was waving it at customers?
Waving it at pointing and or waving at customers, at other people.
So
in the store.
during your response, at any time, did you believe that the public may be under threat because of this call?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. When you were entering the building, did you at all fear for your own safety or take precautions for your own safety?
Absolutely.
Okay. When you round the corner, you see the suspect. Now, you knew that you were looking for somebody in the pet aisle holding a rifle?
Right.
Did you have any other description on the suspect before you entered?
You know, I don't remember if, for some reason, I believe I remember dispatch saying it was a black male.
Okay.
I don't know.
So your key to that was you were looking for somebody holding a rifle?
My key was looking for I remember it was a male subject, and they were holding a rifle, and they were in the pet area.
Okay. You made the first call to have the suspect put the gun down. The first command to him.
Yes.
Williams made the secondary command, same or similar.
Yes.
And then he fired.
Yeah, and at one point I told him to get on the ground.
Okay.
And whether that was as the shots were going off or whether it was before the shots were going off, I do remember saying that.
Did the suspect immediately comply with your command?
He didn't comply with anything we said.
Okay.
After he was startled, he began darting to his right, to my left, and taking up some kind of. It's hard to describe how he reacted, but the best I can say or describe it, it was a startled reaction, and then it was a movement as though he was either going to take off running or he was going to seek cover behind that immediate aisle, that first aisle, something to that effect. But he was darting as he was moving, while he was still at low ready with the rifle.
Okay.
Still had it in his hands like this.
Okay.
And he kind of turned and began moving in that direction. And in my mind, I'm thinking there's no way we can allow someone who's already waved and pointed this gun at people, possibly loaded, and an assault rifle, to get out of our contained area and get into the general public where I know there's all kinds of people.
So your perception was he didn't comply. You gave him what you thought were specific orders. He wasn't complying. The orders were repeated, and then Williams fired.
Twice.
Okay. Did you recall hearing it twice?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's stay on that for a minute, Dave. Why didn't you fire?
Like I said, I took up a little bit more what I felt was a tactical position behind the aisle. And unfortunately, when you do that, if the suspect moves, you have less of a vantage point.
Okay.
He moved to a position where my line of fire decreased as he went to his right, my left.
Okay.
Even though I was in a little bit, I would say, more of a tactical position behind cover, I lost that line of sight when he went that direction.
Okay.
Where Sean was towards the middle of the aisle, maybe in a less tactical position for him as far as defensively, but he had a better line of fire.
Okay.
He didn't lose the suspect like I did. Now, had he continued, or had Sean not been able to shoot him before he made it, I would have been in a better position to get to that next aisle over.
Okay.
But he dropped before he got there.
Okay. Did anything? What other? You're 17-year-old veteran of law enforcement. You've had a ton of training.
Yeah.
What other specialty training have you had personally? Do you qualify every year on your firearm?
Every year.
Okay. Are you qualified on the AR-15 that you carry?
Yep.
Okay. you just took active shooter, you do that every year, at least for the past several years, many years, since it's become an issue.
Yeah. I've been on the SWAT team, the area SWAT team, called it RRT. I've been on that 14 years.
Okay. Did anything that you did yourself that night violate any of the training that you've had?
No.
Did anything that you saw Williams do, including firing his weapon at the suspect, violate any training that you've had or that you know that he has had?
No.
Okay. Did you feel he was justified in pulling the trigger at that point?
Yes.
Okay. How long have you been, could you estimate, I used to do the run active shooter training for the Attorney General's office too. In my recollection, well, let's say I know approximately when that all started. How long going back do you think like your department got more involved in saying we're going to have annual active shooter training? Has it been every year of your 17 years?
No.
Okay.
As you know, I mean, Columbine changed a lot. So, you know, I would say shortly after law enforcement recognized that we can't do what we did at Columbine, that's when quad training first came out.
Right.
Our department's very proactive on our training, and I can't imagine as soon as law enforcement community took a different position after Columbine and started instituting that quad training, I would say it would have to be very shortly after that we started training that way here. And
there's even some schools, like my niece's school just finally started the Alice training, and we've known that schools have been doing that for 5, 7, 10 years or whatever you call it. But the run, hide, fight instead of the break and cover. So it's a different world basically than the days. Were you at any point in your training, going back 17 years, trained to secure a scene, mobilize outside, and then come up with a plan to go inside?
Well, yes.
Okay, and is it fair to say, or you tell me, has that approach changed in your 17 years?
Yeah, that approach has evolved.
Okay.
As critical incidents have enlightened the law enforcement community on how we've needed to change that.
Right. So possibly, just going back, I'm not asking this the date of 17 years ago, but possibly in that time, or you're at least aware, going back, law enforcement used to have a certain approach that was thought to be a best practice, was stay outside, keep everybody from getting hurt, and we'll come up with a plan out there.
Yeah, that's more of a pre-Columbine type of process.
So is it fair to say, is that what you're getting at, Dave? Is it fair to say that now that officers or first responders are expected to engage the shooter?
Yes.
Okay, and is that what you feel like you did that night?
Absolutely.
Okay. Dave, when you said you remember the suspect going down, and to your recollection, that's after the shots were fired?
Correct.
Okay. And he gets back up?
He at least attempted to.
Okay.
I remember thinking in my mind whether he'd actually hit him or not, because he went down initially and then almost started to struggle to get back up again.
Go ahead. You go ahead.
I'm trying to remember if I started to go back towards that other aisle when he. I thought that I did. That second, I glanced towards that second aisle to see whether he was going to get up and start running, because that would have been more my responsibility at that point if he had done that, because I was on that side and would have had a better angle of that second aisle than Sean did out in the first immediate aisle.
Understood. And understanding again of all that was encapsulated in those brief moments that night, do you recall if when the suspect went down, was he still armed at the time? Do you recall that?
I think he dropped the rifle after he was hit.
Okay. So he's hit and he's down. He looks to be getting back up. Did you, at the time, you already answered this, Dave, but at the time you saw the suspect with the weapon, did you think the suspect was a threat?
When he had the weapon?
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Okay. When he goes down and he gets back up, was he potentially still a threat to you, even if the gun's on the ground? Is it hard to say at this point what you were thinking at that time?
Of course, anybody who's willing to put themselves in the position he had done is going to be perceived as a threat by me.
Okay. And
I mean, we don't know if he's armed with anything else. I mean, if he, just because he doesn't have the rifle anymore doesn't mean he's not armed anymore.
Right. And even though Officer Williamson just fired, the suspect gets back up, you guys don't fire on him again.
No.
He goes back down on his own volition somehow.
Correct.
Okay. Why didn't you guys fire again?
We could see clearly at that point that that he was no longer a threat.
Okay, so are you trying to say he went down very quickly after he got back up?
Yeah.
Okay.
It happened very quickly. He struggled to try to get back up, and then it went right back down again and stayed down.
Okay, so
that's when we approached.
So when he's getting back up, he's still a potential threat, and that's in your mind, but then he's going down right away, so it changed it pretty quickly.
Right. Because in my mind, I'm thinking, did he get hit? Mm-hmm. I wasn't sure if he had gotten hit because he's starting to get back up again, mm-hmm. but then he goes right back down again, and so I thought, I guess he did. I mean,
okay, yeah.
This is all happening with,
we're
within split seconds.
We're well aware.
Half
we're
second.
Well aware. We appreciate you walking through it a bunch of times. I know it's difficult to do. Dave, do you have any prior involvement in shooting incidents?
No.
Okay.
I mean, I've been on shooting incidents, but not to this degree where I'm actually involved in the shooting incident.
Okay.
You know?
All right. So, well, take me there. You've arrived after a shooting has occurred, or you've been there? Have you observed other officers shooting? Have you been on scene when another officer shot someone?
No, I'm probably the closest one was our SWAT team responded to a call up at Huber Heights where a sniper had shot a suspect.
Okay.
And we in my unit, the Beaver Creek element, arrived shortly after.
Okay.
The man was still down, still laying there.
You've never fired your weapon on another person?
No.
Okay. Dave, we actually have, the department had you and Officer Williams take a urine test, toxicology test.
Yes.
And those results came back. Were you drinking at all during that day or evening?
No.
Are you a drug user at all?
No.
You weren't using any drugs at all that day or evening?
Nothing.
Were you well rested that night? Did you feel good that day? What time did your shift start?
7 p.m.
7 p.m., so you only been on shift for an hour and 20 minutes roughly when this call came in.
Right.
How was the lighting in the store?
Lighting was bright.
Bright, regular Walmart lighting?
Correct.
So well lit.
Yeah.
Nothing dim about it? You felt like you had good observation of what was occurring at the scene?
Yeah.
Okay. I think what we want to do is we want to listen to radio traffic with you. We want to show you the video. There's 100 plus cameras in Walmart.
Yeah.
And we've got the video of the suspect in the aisle and what occurs. Mm. You guys aren't on the same frame in that video. All you can see is the suspect. Mm. Only partial view that we have of you guys coming nearby is it shows your bottom half, and we can see, put them kind of side by side and show what's occurring. We're going to run that so you can just go through it again with the, help of seeing it to refresh your memory and re-explain a little bit just about that little brief part of that incident. But I'm going to let Brent, do you have any questions to ask before we do that?
Yeah. Do you mind if I call you Dave?
That's fine.
All right. I didn't know if you preferred David or...
No.
Okay. And you'll have to apologize. I'm going to follow up on things. I was writing pretty quickly as you were answering questions. And if I'm going to ask questions I'm not intending to trip you up in any way, it's just because I may have not heard or fully understood what you were saying, okay?
I understand.
Do you need to take a break? Do you need to get
No.
water or something?
Yeah, get your
Something to
water.
drink?
I'm good, let's go.
Okay. And some of these go all the way back to the beginning. The call comes in through dispatch. Officers were sent to Walmart. Do you recall which officers were sent or who dispatch sent?
No.
Okay, you'll probably recognize it when you hear
I will.
when you hear that.
I remember
Oh, yeah.
Sean, I don't remember if dispatch sent Officer Williams, Sean Williams, immediately, but I remember shortly after the dispatch, he called out on scene.
Okay.
I mean, he was right there.
He was basically
around the
right
corner.
there.
Yeah.
So that response time was real quick.
Yeah.
You got there. You noticed that, and correct me again if I'm wrong, that Officer Williams had an AR with him.
Correct.
And you got an AR from the back of your trunk, correct?
Correct.
Did you two discuss why an AR was chosen
No.
for that particular response? Okay.
I don't recall any conversation with him about that.
What was your decision to use the AR?
We knew that the suspect was armed with a rifle based on the 911 caller into our dispatch center, and that he was possibly loading that AR rifle.
Okay.
I don't recall that it was actually an AR rifle, but dispatch said a rifle.
You knew
armed
he had
with
a rifle.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So at the point the decision's made, the subject in the Walmart has a rifle. You are taking a rifle in with you as well.
Correct.
Okay. Some of these questions I've gotten answered, so I apologize for reading over some of these.
No, go ahead.
You and Officer Williams went in tandem.
Yes.
Were you stacked as you were going in?
He was behind me. So
Okay.
yes.
And the reason for going in that particular way?
Well, I mean, we went in tandem from a tactical standpoint. I mean, that's how we've been trained.
That's how you've been trained.
But why I was in front of him or why he was behind me was just the way it
It's just the way it worked.
unfolded.
Okay.
We didn't discuss me, I'll be in point, or, you watch the rear. We didn't discuss anything like that. We just reacted.
Okay. Again, I'm going to flip through these because Dave has followed up with some of the questions already that I had as we're going through the interview. I apologize.
That's right.
Dave covered, you made a verbal recorded statement to the department,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
Are you or have you been required to make a written incident summary?
No.
Okay, that request hasn't been made?
No.
Okay. Some departments are different. Some people
Yeah.
want a statement, then they want a summary of what transpired.
Right.
Okay.
We may get to that point, but we haven't.
You're not there yet?
Right.
Okay. As you approached the pet area and taking a position of cover, how long did you stage there before you engaged verbally the suspect?
It was almost immediately.
Almost immediately.
Yeah, as soon as I rounded that corner aisle, the end cap, and saw the suspect, I immediately started verbal commands from the put down the rifle and put down the gun.
We've gone over that in great detail about what you said and not only what you said, but what you heard or recall Officer Williams saying as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dave, did you know the suspect?
No.
Have you learned his name since?
Yes.
And that's no other recollection? You never encountered him before?
Never.
After shots were fired and you and Officer Williams are approaching the subject, he's down on the ground. I assume you got close to what was, the weapon that he was carrying at the time.
Yes.
Okay. How close did you actually get to it?
I was right by it, within a foot or two
Okay.
from where it was laying.
And at that time, when it was laying on the ground, could you determine it was anything other than a fully operating AR-type assault rifle?
No, I didn't inspect it, and when I glanced down at it as it was laying there, it appeared to be an AR rifle, a standard 223 AR style rifle.
Okay.
But I did not pick it up. I never touched it. I didn't inspect it. I didn't even look at the barrel even. I just glanced down at it. You know, my focus at that point really was not on what kind of rifle was this. My focus was on the scene and what we were trying to do.
Okay.
The first aid, taking care of the officer, getting the people out of Walmart, cordon off the area. So whether the rifle was, you know, authentic or whether it was real, wasn't. I mean, it crossed my mind. I'll admit it. It kind of crossed my mind at one point, but when I glanced at it, it looked like a real rifle, and I just assumed it was a real rifle.
It crossed your mind after it was, you suspect
Afterwards,
was down?
yeah, afterwards, as the scene is starting to clear out. I know Walmart sells pellet rifles that look like real rifles, and I also know Walmart sells real AR rifles.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Okay.
It's going to sound like a crazy question, but the rifle didn't have an orange tip.
no.
That would, and the reason for having an orange tip and your, professional experience as a law enforcement officer is
That it's a toy, some sort of a toy rifle.
right.
Pellet guns don't, and real rifles don't, and this one did not.
That's all I have. If you want to go through the audio or the video.
Yeah, and I want to follow up on one thing. Two things actually. Williams handcuffed the suspect after he was down.
Yes.
It's clear he was shot.
Yes.
Is that department protocol to cuff him?
Yes. I mean, there's several schools of thought.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know of any policy or procedure that pertains directly to that action, but I do know, just based on my training, there's several schools of thought about that. The main one that I would subscribe to is that, if you have a suspect and you have a scene where the suspect is obviously dead,
Mm-hmm.
based on rigor, decomposition,
Mm-hmm.
Things like this, there's not a need to secure a person like that. Leave the scene alone, leave the evidence where it's at. However, if you have a scene such as this one, where the suspect is not dead, and he's certainly not obviously dead, that you do secure the suspect. And at this point, when he was cuffed, he was not dead. He was breathing, his eyes were open.
In any case, he's down.
And he had already gone down and back up
You're
at
not-
this point, and then back down again.
Right.
So,
And you're not a doctor. You don't know if he's armed with something else.
no.
And just for any typical circumstance, it wasn't just this circumstance. In your mind, it's somewhere along the line you've been trained or guided to say it's a good idea to handcuff a suspect down, whether or not you think he's not coming back up or not.
Right.
Unless you're 1,000% sure of your own safety.
Right.
So regardless of who that suspect was, you were going to cuff a suspect who had just been engaged and down. Okay.
Yeah.
And at any time during that night, we got very specific about the gun, but immediately before, during, and immediately after the incident, did you fully believe in your mind that Williams had shot an armed suspect?
Yes.
Okay. And the classification of a pellet gun could vary. It's definitely considered a weapon. But again, even though we say armed, you believe at that time he was armed with a fully operating, whatever type of 223 round, anything, firearm.
Absolutely.
Okay. Any more follow-up right now, Brent?
No.
Okay, Dave, what, the audio traffic is short, and the video is actually, the part we're gonna show you is pretty short too. Do you wanna take a quick break, get a drink of water?
No,
Okay.
let's do it.
I think we're gonna do the audio first.
Okay.
Listen to that, and then what I was doing here was staging this, we've had this stage, but it keeps, this media player we've got keeps dropping off if it's not, activated quick here.
Is this our
This is gonna be
Our
your,
dispatch
yeah,
transmission?
yeah,
Okay.
and this starts at 2022, so 8:22 p.m. that evening, according to your radio clock. And let me see, volume. So the volume on these things isn't great. Let's see what we can hear. Ready?
Yeah.
Good to go, Vince?
Yeah.
Okay. I gotta follow the, what do we say, Brad?
Around 40 or 40, 20, 41, 20, 42 hours.
What we trying to do is get this to run in succession, just clicking on it once. Hold on, Dave, hold on. It didn't stick for me that time. Do we right-click play?
Yeah.
Affirmative. I have a gentleman who's watching it, so he's waving it around, believes it's a rifle, and he just put some bullets inside.
I don't believe that's the first one, and it's showing as the first
That's
one,
not
though.
the first.
So it's showing 2022, but it's played as 2024.
We can
And
just
see
do
what
it
goes.
one at a time.
Yeah, let me try this one more time.
36.
Now it's 2037. We'll go one at a time.
Which is crazy, and we apologize, because on my computer, when I do exactly what he's doing,
Yeah.
it plays it in sequential order. But on his computer, which is the exact same kind of computer.
We got it to do it twice yesterday that worked, but
Some kind of software issue.
it's usually me and technology.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go, 2022.
Okay.
2022. and 96 for weapons complaint. 1340 to claim 6. 113 on bail, millimeter out, millimeter out. 26, go ahead. 5360 Pentagon Boulevard, Walmart, a black male, 6 foot, wearing a blue shirt, blue pants, in the back section, holding a gun, pointing.
Do you recall that transmission going out that way?
Yeah. I mean, it sounds very familiar.
Okay. I don't expect you to remember every detail.
No, I don't remember all the officers. You know.
Did you identify anybody from there? Did you know anybody that calls back in and said responding or by voice?
I mean, listening to that. Oh yeah,
Okay.
I know that, but I don't. But I wouldn't have recalled that if I wouldn't have listened.
I got you.
That's why I asked you earlier if dispatch, if you knew who dispatch sent, which units they sent. It sounded like 113 and 96.
Yeah, and then she changed it to 46 for some reason.
Okay.
113 and 96 are my District 1 cars, which that is in District 1, so they would have been, but I don't know why she would change. 46 is a cover car, unless 113 was tied up on something else, I don't remember.
Okay.
But 113, 96 are my District 1 cars. 46 is a cover car, so it would make sense that she would send 113 and 96.
You did not specifically get dispatched to it at any point?
No,
Okay.
they don't normally dispatch me unless,
Okay.
well, no, they don't.
Okay. Yeah, right on.
There's very few cases where everybody's tied up and something hot comes out and they'll dispatch me on something like that.
Okay, but this was in your purview and maybe even your responsibility to respond to, and your,
Right.
okay, because
Yeah.
of the seriousness of the situation.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Hold on, Dave.
Take your time, take your time.
This was your platoon, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
It's kind of complicated, but Officer Sean Williams is not directly under my platoon, even though he does work directly under me for 4 hours every night that I work. He, it's hard to explain without showing you our personnel chart, but from 7 when I come on, 7 p.m. until 11 p.m. when he gets off of work, from that time period, he's directly under my command, even though he's not technically on my platoon. He's technically on Sergeant Molnar's platoon.
So does he work swing shift?
Yeah, he works from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., which is a little different because my platoon works 7 p.m. to 7 a.m.
Okay.
So there is a 4-hour overlap where we work with those, there's two.
There's two swing
There's
officers.
two swing, we call them a power shift.
All right.
So there's two officers that would normally be on this power shift, and I would be under command of those two officers for my first 4 hours, their last 4 hours.
So Sergeant Molnar has him for the largest portion of that shift, which you work 12-hour shifts, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then the last 4 is...
So Sergeant Molnar would have him when he comes on at 11 a.m. When Officer Sean Williams comes in at 11 a.m., he falls under the command of Sergeant Molnar. When Sergeant Molnar leaves at 7 p.m. and I come in at 7 p.m., he falls under my command until he leaves at 11 p.m.
What's Molnar's platoon? What number do you recall?
2.
2. Okay.
And I'm 4.
All right. Perfect. Sorry. Go ahead.
You ready?
Yeah.
2032.
Yeah. 46 out still being around. 2023.
So that just looks at
90, I'm at Walmart. Did you say 20 unit people? Affirmative, 90. He's in the pet section.
90 is who?
That's Sean Williams.
Okay, and again, so it's 2023. Speaking backwards, I said 2032.
That's when we know Sean's on scene already.
Okay, we'll play that part again.
46 out still being around.
That's his dad.
2023. 90, I'm at Walmart. Did you say 20 unit people? Affirmative, 90. He's in the pet section.
So you heard that traffic go out,
Yes.
and your understanding of what Williams said is what?
He confirmed that he's with dispatch that the suspect is actually pointing the weapon at people.
Okay, and that was your belief at the time. That's the instruction you had.
Absolutely.
Again, this is not a trick question. We just need to make sure. When you said 46 was his dad, you're talking about Officer Williams' dad.
Yeah, I have under my command at least until 11 o'clock. I have Sean Williams and his dad Chris Williams both under my command. So you heard 46 go on there and say he's still going to be en route, which I'm fine with. We needed everybody up there eventually.
Gotcha.
Is Chris, who's a rank officer also?
Yes, he's my canine officer also, so it's good to have him on any kind of critical incident with the canine.
Okay.
Is that why she changed it to 46? Because of the canine?
No, she wouldn't have done that.
Okay.
That would be my call, not hers.
Okay.
You know, I don't know why she would initially dispatch. Maybe she would probably have to answer that.
Yeah.
Maybe she saw something in our CAD.
We don't have to dwell on that. Let's
Yeah,
stick with stuff you know.
I agree.
Somebody put on affirmative. I have a gentleman who's watching him, says he's waving it around, believes it's a rifle. Believes he just put some bullets inside.
I'll pause it for a second. Did you hear the first part of what you said, or who was that speaking? Was that still Williams?
That was Sean Williams.
Okay. And the first part sounded muffled, but it sounded like he said,
Still eyes on it.
yes.
Yeah, he's asking if the caller that she's talking to still has eyes on him, because a lot of times our dispatch, I mean, they'll even hang up with people sometimes, you know, and get off the phone. So I mean, in this case, I think he was trying to confirm that, hey, your caller is still seeing him.
Yeah.
We needed to know whether he was going to leave that pet area or not,
Right.
And that was important.
Right. So you're relying on this information coming in.
Right.
I'm just going to start there from the beginning again, so it's only a couple seconds.
Somebody put on affirmative. I have a gentleman who's watching him, says he's waving it around, believes it's a rifle. Believes he just put some bullets inside.
See if I'm saying this correctly, what she just said. He asked her to verify there's eyes on him. She said affirmative. He still sees a guy waving a rifle, and he believes he's just putting some bullets inside.
Right, so now we know we have a rifle, and now we know that he's possibly loading that rifle.
Okay. Ready to go on?
Yep.
Shot him first.
I didn't hear that. That's only me.
Try again.
Stereo 37.
Yeah, I'm on scene.
Yeah, I think you said I'm 37.
70 on 37.
Yeah.
That's what I would have said, but that was,
It was muffled.
yeah.
Yeah.
Our radios, they're good, but sometimes. Yeah, that's me.
Okay.
70 on 37. That means I'm on scene. So that's dispatch's first.
They're advising he's in the back corner of F.
I was Sean again.
And that's where you were advising in that corner of that. Did you have knowledge of that beforehand? That's
Yeah, they
paramount information?
Yeah, they had told that.
Okay.
She was relaying that again.
Okay.
Possibly still talking to him, the initial caller to confirm.
Okay. We'll go next.
9637.
That's Officer Bondi.
9637. 2025.
Okay. He's on
Yeah,
scene.
some of them are quick.
Officer Bondi.
He's on scene.
4637.
That's Dad, Chris Redding.
13, myself, 11737.
Okay.
2026.
That's stall and nicely.
Okay. We're still just getting people arriving on scene. I need a little bit more.
Yeah.
Suspect now. You're clear, 2027.
Maybe Sean. It sounded like Sean.
Play it again.
Yeah.
And we all heard suspect down?
Yeah.
Okay. This is 27.
Suspect now. You're clear,
Had to have
2027.
been Sean.
Okay.
It sounds like him.
Play a little bit after the response here for you.
Hey, which corner of the store? I just had these shots fired on the back. Still in the ambulance.
That's me.
You're clear, 2027.
That was Chris Williams asking his son, Sean Williams, which corner of the store.
Okay.
I mean, he may not be as familiar with the Walmart layout
Okay.
as some of us.
Sure.
But he's asking what corner of the store, and then that's me asking for an ambulance.
Okay. Let me just start that again.
Hey, which corner of the store? I just had these shots fired on the back. Still in the ambulance.
You asking for an ambulance for who?
The suspect.
Okay. Go ahead, what you were saying.
It sounded like Sean was still in the background giving him verbal commands or something. I don't know. You can.
Was that Sean's voice that you?
It
sounded like someone said, "Get on your back."
Yeah.
Did that sound?
I don't remember that happening, but it kind of sounds like that might be Sean.
Listen to that again. Here we go.
I just had these shots fired on the back. Still in the ambulance.
I hear something about on your back.
Definitely on your back right after you.
It's got to be Sean. We were the only two.
Okay.
There.
Yep. Okay.
And I'm the one queuing up to ask for the ambulance.
All right. Here we go. Same. Still at 2027 here.
You're clear, 2027. So 60, 71 contact, 47 for you.
I remember that. That's Sergeant Molnar.
76, you're clear, 2027.
That's Sergeant Molnar letting me know that he's going to be calling the captain.
Okay.
Right. That's Fiorita.
47s.
For
Okay.
Fiorita.
Next minute, 2028.
Somebody bring caution tape in here, please.
Gauze and tape.
Caution tape.
Caution tape.
Oh, caution tape. Who was that?
Somebody
Critical.
bring caution tape in here, please.
So that's asking for crime scene tape basically to
Yeah.
the scene. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay.
Somebody.
Like I said, I'm not dead, maybe.
No.
46, we started a medic up there.
Uh,
Affirmative, medics are around.
Chris.
These flags outside needs to bring some caution tape in here, please.
That sounds like Chris Williams.
Okay.
So the
Nicely.
securing the scene's in progress.
Securing the scenes in progress.
Medics are on the way.
are called.
Okay.
Units at Walmart, check up. 2029. 70, cancel text.
I just.
You're
You
clear,
didn't go for radio,
2029.
Yeah, it was unneeded at this point. I canceled. I didn't want her. we had enough stuff going on without her doing checkups on us.
Or you need to take back here in the pet section, first aid kit too, if somebody has one.
That's all Chris
If
Williams.
there's any unit outside, you need to get a first aid bag, we'll get that rolling in the front door.
Stall.
So is that two different people asking for first aid kits?
Yeah,
That's your...
Chris Williams is asking for someone outside to get the tape and because he's in there with us at that point.
Okay.
So he's asking for tape and first aid kit, and that was Officer Stall, who I don't think he was there at that point.
Okay. And
But
again,
Stall is the one that ended up going to get the first aid kit.
okay, and it wasn't you that said that, and
No.
There's 3 medical situations going on at once, very quickly. Are you aware of which first aid kit was for who at this point when people are asking? And don't speculate if you don't know.
At this point, it was for the suspect. I do know that.
Okay. And then it sounded like the second one they said was for a female.
No, yeah, and that was later.
Okay, let's hear that.
In the pet section, first aid kit too, if somebody has one. If there's any unit outside, you need to get a first aid bag, we'll get that rolling in the front door.
Okay, now he said first aid kit outside, so I was putting in my head that's where the other lady fell down, or they had her near the...
No, she was inside. He's still, Officer Stall is seeing if there's anybody that's still outside, because Officer Stall is now working his way in.
Got it.
In there. So he's trying to see if there's anybody that's still outside that can bring in the first aid kit. I don't think anybody answered him, and that's why Officer Stall ended up going to get one.
Right, makes sense. And he did say first aid kit pet section on that first part.
Yeah. Officer Stall's the one that came in with it eventually, so he must have gone out himself and gotten it.
Good to go?
Yeah.
Here we go.
I got it.
I have no idea who that was.
$118 out of Walmart, security perimeter.
Brownlee.
115 seconds.
Diaz. Brownlee and Diaz. Those are my District 3 cars.
96.
96.
There's a female customer back in the sporting goods section that's having a medical emergency. I'll need an additional medic for little female.
You're clear.
So that's the first we knew there was another medical emergency going on.
Right.
So all of that stuff, all that initial stuff, the first medic, the first aid kit, all that stuff, that was all for in relation to the suspect.
Got it. Yeah. And that's at 2029 right there. It's the end of 2029. We're talking that's 7 minutes after the first call out, and that's a full 2 minutes after the suspect is down that the female response kicked in. Okay, we'll go to 2030.
90. Go ahead. Do you have your tourniquet, right? It's out in my cruiser. Don't do it if you can.
So you heard that?
Yeah,
Okay.
he's still referring to the suspect. That was Sean Williams.
And since it's a little broken up, it was Sean Williams asking for a tourniquet for the suspect?
Right.
Okay.
I'm going to stop you, because we haven't established at this point what part of the body or the wound were they using the tourniquet?
It was on the arm.
Okay.
You know, later on I could tell that most of his bleeding wasn't coming from his arm, but initially we were trying to stop any bleeding we could, because we had, I'm pretty sure he got hit in both arms. So we had, this elbow was pretty much gone. I mean, it was shattered. And then I believe there was another, I believe his other arm was hit also, and then there was blood coming from somewhere other than his arms. Somewhere on his body. So when we were just trying to stop anything we could. The tourniquet ended up being on his arm.
So it sounds like a lot of attention was given to his medical care and
Right.
response. All right.
70.
Good.
Medics are requesting can they come in and be laid to stage?
They need to come in. They need to come to the far left pet area.
Oh, you're clear. So 2031.
So that's medics asking if they need to come on stage. Does that sound like it's likely for, they're making sure the scene's cleared, safe for them to come in?
Yeah.
Okay. 2031.
So the order said to open the garden area doors for them. For the 76.
70, you're clear. 70, like.
And AD, Dean's got one in the back of the store, in the fabric section. '46 advised the medics are just going to come through the front door and then make the left back into this corner of the store.
46, you're clear. 76, I got it easy.
Alright, we're back by the bicycle.
One more medical response. But did we need to go much further than this? Do you, anything pertinent after that?
Which one are we on there?
That's 2031.
I would go a couple more.
I have the easiest right here.
Quick one.
46, is the medic still staging or what are they advising? They're down now, 46. If you have any advice, we're going to need a second medic.
76, you're clear. We have a second medic in round. 76, can you advise the medical issue?
Yeah, advise them they need to come in the building for medical issue. I'm with them.
You're clear. Medics are requesting an issue as having difficulty breathing.
I'll come in with the medic.
Still dealing with the heart attack.
70 to 46, are you with the medics yet?
Still,
Yeah, we're out there right now.
I don't know where they went. Those medics.
Is there something particular we're looking for beyond
No,
that?
I think we're good there.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of our efforts, we're trying to get the medics in the right place, it seemed like.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what the problem was, because I wasn't outside, but...
Yeah. Clearly called for medical attention, trying to do what you guys can. Gonna watch a little bit of video.
Okay.
We'll take a quick break.
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna turn so we can all see it here. I'll tell you what's going on with this here, Dave. Well, why don't you start? Tell me if you recognize these areas from this, and if you don't, that's fine because it's a skewed, short view.
Well, obviously these are the front doors, I guess.
Okay. There's not much reference here, so I didn't want to. This is actually the pets aisle.
Okay.
What we're going to see here very quickly is, yeah, turn so your view is better than mine.
So would this be the garden area over here?
This view is going to be right here. So it's coming up this way. This door is right here.
Okay.
So whatever this is...
So that's the exit into the garden center?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Making sense now?
Yeah.
Okay. So it looks like we're catching...
The walls, I mean, these aisles look so much more narrow than I remember them. I don't know if it's distorted or...
It's also like, it looks short down there. I mean, those are called Walmart aisles, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's the camera angle.
Those security cameras. But that's what it is. Where I've got this stage, about here, just a couple of seconds after, is where you guys are going to approach from this angle right here. You got to come up this aisle here.
Okay, then this isn't the exit. Oh, yeah. Okay, this is in the garden center, looking back into the store. Into the store.
Yes,
I gotcha.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it's hard for us to turn it around to it first. But
I'm
yeah,
with you now.
Yeah, I guess it's both an entrance and an exit if you look at it that way. So we had a different terminology there. And so, pet aisles here. What's going to happen? But this is about 4 minutes ahead, and we'll speed it up. We'll have to watch the whole 4 minutes, but Suspect's gonna come walking up this way.
Okay.
All right, and this is about the time, 8:21, where the witness had made the first call to 911. It is specifying his movements. There's no audio on this, Dave.
Yeah.
And it's touchy. You can only get it every couple of minutes. I think we're about 20 seconds away here. There he comes.
And while you're watching, you haven't seen it. Have you seen this video?
No.
This is the first time you're viewing it,
Yeah.
correct?
Mhm.
Let me pause a minute, David. So that was the closest you were going to get of him walking up that way. What did you just see there?
I mean, he looks like he has his hand up to his head with his right hand, and then it looks like he has a gun,
The rifle?
the rifle in his other hand.
Yeah.
Then he kind of just
Take a closer look
swings
here.
it.
Let's see if we can get this. It's touchy. Closest thing. Here, turn so your angle's best, and you'll see him come up here.
Is it already played?
It's not playing yet.
It would have been if I hit play after I moved the timer. Turn as much as you need to.
That's okay.
A little more clear that he's carrying something there.
Yeah, he's got the rifle in his left hand. Maybe he's on the phone. Still just waving the rifle around.
Yeah.
Nothing.
And
People,
again,
we got other shoppers over here.
mhm. And you don't have to say much about it. You're not in the store at this time.
No.
This is still 8:21. This is just the response call going out initially. This is kind of right now just for your perspective of what's going on.
Right.
This is information you only know through a 911 caller, and I'm just showing you guys for your
Yeah.
perspective. I will tell you this, it does run, your response comes in just shortly after the, about 8:26, closer to 8:27 actually, and right now we're only on about 8:22. We can sit and watch that whole entire stuff if that's helpful for you, but his movements stay relegated to about at max, like a 10 square foot area right there in that aisle this entire time. Waves the gun around quite a bit, moves it around a little bit. There'll be some shoppers that appear to notice him, and one witness stated later that you'll see on the video that he did see the guy with the gun. You tell me what you guys want to do. You want to watch the next 2 minutes straight, or you can fast forward it?
It doesn't matter. I mean, you can fast forward if you like.
You're on time.
No, go ahead. Fast forward it to
Okay.
where we come in to the picture.
Actually, this ends up being the young lady that dies. She's actually in the aisle with the suspect.
She sees something. She gave a real hard, long look to him.
We're going to see them again out there.
Just for your information, it's about 26:55.
Yeah, that's what I know to do. I'm going to try to get both coming in near the same time. I meant to do, hold on. See if I don't think I can get much closer than that. Guess I can. So we'll do this. Let me start this. They're real close right now.
Mm-hmm.
A lot going on watching 2 frames.
Yeah.
Eyes were bouncing back and forth.
Yeah, they were.
Okay. So did you see you guys coming up on the approach there?
I did. I saw us coming up right here.
Let's try to take one at a time. Okay, we're within 20 seconds here. So watch this one. Pause it if you like, or not. So that family just pretty much gets out of the way right before you guys come in.
So they're in the garden area now? I mean...
Yeah, there.
They left pets and went to the garden area.
Takes a look.
Okay.
And then looks like the suspect may be looking down this aisle with them at that point. Oh, that's still. So we're coming up again, block this out, this is pause, just
Mhm.
looking at this side now. Does that look as you recall?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to always see our feet from that angle,
Right.
so it's kind of hard.
There's no doubt that's you and, is there any doubt that that's you and Williams?
No.
Okay. And then you would be the officer we see, just the legs we see that come first into frame closest to the, what looks to be kitty litter there?
Yeah, you can, I have on the departmental cargo pants
Mhm.
where Sean Williams was in his bike uniform, so you'll see him in shorts.
Okay. We're into that issue I've been having here. You're not responding. Let's see if we can decide to pull it out. From what you saw there, we'll play it again. Is there anything that changes what you told us?
No, I don't think so.
So again, you approach closest. This is what you were referring to as kitty litter as your cover, basically.
Yeah.
The aisle cap, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And Williams approached from the outside of you.
Right.
As you still recall, if Williams, if you were here on this corner here, and again, it's still not responding, but when it does, you feel that Williams was at best behind you, maybe a little bit outside back of you when you made your first verbal command.
When we first approached,
Mm-hmm.
he was behind me.
Okay.
You know, at what point he came
Mm-hmm.
to my right, you know.
Okay.
I think he was coming around as I was initially making verbal commands.
Okay. All right. Watch the suspect screen. There's no clear indication here because you guys aren't seeing, so you gotta just watch his reactions. And this is clearly a different angle than what you had personally.
You don't see us at all
No.
in this one?
No, not until he's down. Was that you that went around this way and then came back
Yeah.
around? Okay, so you didn't see the entirety of when he went down and back up like you described? Like, you described that you said there was a point where you lost sight of him.
Yeah, because you could see he was headed this direction, and so I kind of went this way, you know, where I'd have a better
And then
vantage
came back
point.
around. Okay,
And now I'm yelling at people to do stuff.
right. And again...
Can I see that again?
Absolutely. See as many times as you like. Again, your vantage point was quite different. This is coming from the ceiling, at best, center, but even a little bit probably to the right of that. You're coming from a low position, behind an angled cover, and from the left of the suspect. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead, just to play when you're ready.
No.
Slide that over. Comes in just about 15 seconds here. So the suspect clearly went down like you described, he got up like you described, looked to be running back towards Williams.
Yeah.
At a minimum, and didn't get fired upon again.
Right.
Went back down. And that's consistent with what witnesses described as well. Anything else?
No, I mean, I didn't have the vantage point when I knew he got back up and started to head this way, but where I could see, I didn't see, there's Bondi. I couldn't see him getting back up to head back, like as if he was headed back for the weapon. I didn't see that part.
Okay. Yeah, you were behind here, went this way. And then
Yeah, because I think when he started going that way, I started focusing on this aisle.
So you could see, when you were running this way in this aisle, you could see part of his body at least
Barely.
extending, so you knew he
Yes.
moved and got up.
I knew he had gone down, and then he was getting back up
Okay.
again.
Okay.
And then I lost him.
Okay. What we're here to do is just gather the facts of what you saw, heard, did. We can look at, you are free to look at as much of this more as you want to go back through it. Do you need to take them through it anymore?
I don't think so.
Okay. Do you want to see more? Did anything, the key thing is, did anything trigger something more in your memory that changed anything?
Not necessarily. You know, he does a lot of waving of the gun while he is apparently on the phone. The only thing I can tell you is when I came around the corner, I never saw any phone in his hand. He appeared to me to be holding the gun, and I thought he had his right hand near the action part of the gun when I saw him. So I don't know.
Clearly his body was turned when you first saw him. He's turned facing this aisle this way.
Yeah.
Your vantage point is this way.
Right.
So you're not getting a clear picture of what's going on with the other arm.
Yeah.
So whether he's on the phone, it's this way. You're looking at a hot response. Your eyes are going to focus necessarily on the weapon, and so it's not entirely as you recall. You thought he might have both hands on the weapon.
Yeah.
You're saying
I know the right hand. I couldn't see what he was doing with it.
Okay.
I know the left hand was on the gun.
Yeah.
I remember that distinctly. The right hand, I couldn't. You know, it happened very quickly, but I couldn't see what his right hand was doing.
Right. And you did state several times you saw the gun move up at some point when you guys engaged him, and on here you're seeing that he's at least at a minimum swinging the gun.
Yeah, he's swinging the gun all over
Okay.
the place. I didn't see that, obviously, but.
Yeah, you didn't see the rest before that.
Yeah, I didn't see what he was doing before that.
But he did move the gun. When you gave commands, he did turn towards you at first.
Yeah, and
Okay.
kind of like a startled motion.
Okay. Anything else to add or change to that? Okay.
Well, when did you realize the phone was involved? When did you realize that there was a phone?
Just
Did
now.
you ever?
No.
Okay.
Just now by seeing this, right?
No. I had been told by one of the detectives that he was on the phone talking to somebody,
Okay.
like, while he was walking around the store. That was the first time that I was aware he even had a phone.
After the fact.
This was well after.
Okay.
This was probably the next day.
Okay.
that
Yeah.
you-
This is the first time you've seen that he was actually on the phone?
Yeah.
Or what appeared to be him on the phone?
Yes.
Okay. Dave, I think we're about ready to get you out of here. Three quick questions. Have you made any other statements, official statements to anybody else other than the police department regarding this incident?
No.
Okay. Media contact you?
No.
Okay. Since you didn't make any other statements, you've already answered to us at least twice that your verbal statements that you made to the police department are still accurate to what you recalled on that day and do not differ from what you told us today,
No.
other than
Correct.
maybe some little details that swung your memory a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that it really helps what his right hand was doing. I mean, I recall his right hand seeming like he was messing with the rifle of some kind.
Okay.
Of course, we have reports that he was possibly loading the rifle.
Correct.
It appears as though he had a phone in his right hand based on the video. But I can tell you when I rounded the corner, it looked like he was messing with the rifle. It looked like he was doing something with his right hand, but I couldn't see it as well as I could his left hand.
Understood.
That would be the only thing I could think of.
Okay, understood. And is everything you told us today, to the best of your recollection, of the absolute truth of what occurred?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'm going to go back to this video, just because I don't think we covered it. This gentleman you see on the left-hand side, I
This
assume
guy?
that's the gentleman? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
He was there, like, seconds after the
Yeah.
shots were fired. Do you
Yeah.
by chance know who that gentleman is?
I have no idea.
Okay. I know
Is he an employee?
We don't know that. I mean, we just got this video yesterday, so we didn't know.
I mean,
that
it
this
almost
guy-
looks like
He's watching what you're doing.
Yeah. It almost-
I didn't know, you said you were familiar with the Walmart, you're obviously familiar with the area. I didn't know if by chance you knew that individual.
I don't know him.
Okay.
I don't know him.
Okay. And we're just, the reason Brent's asking is we've got a lot of witnesses, you know how this goes being a police officer.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have it's still not responding.
It won't
Yeah.
like that. I just wondered if you could
Yeah,
see his shirt.
Oh, I bet I can shut it again.
I'm sure Walmart could tell you if it's an employee they recognize or something, but I can't think of why else he would be headed to where we are,
Yeah.
Unless he's just nosy. I don't know.
And like you said earlier, the store's open, and when you get in, you encounter a greeter and other customers who don't appear to have any idea what's going on.
No.
Now, while Dave's looking for that video, let me ask you this question. Is there anything we forgot to ask you or you want to mention that you think is important about this scenario?
Can't think of anything else that we haven't covered. I mean, we've...
Don't rack your brain on it, it's just a question, just
Yeah,
in case.
I
in case you
don't think there's anything.
Since we're there, I'll let you watch your guys' response again, because about as close as I'm going to get it, so we're about 40 seconds now from that. But they just pretty much get out of the way when you guys are coming up. Maybe come up here quick. Make sure you can see that.
And while you're watching it, just sort of keep in mind the amount of time that transpires from the time you arrive and then engage and the shot's fired.
And then we're just looking
Oh,
at
where's
the
the guy?
person again.
Yeah.
So that's the best we got.
I don't think that's an employee. He's got his, it's almost like he walked into, like, what in the world is that?
Yeah.
Hat backwards.
Does it
Yeah, I
have the
don't think-
Walmart color on and the beige and the shorts and stuff, yeah?
You know, the Walmart, I think it's a little bit brighter blue than what he's got on.
Good eye.
And I don't know any of them that wear their hat backwards.
Let's not go into any more detail on that then.
I don't know
Leave it
who
at
he
that.
is.
Just question about witnesses.
Yeah.
Anything else, Brent?
Good?
Sir?
No, thank you.
Okay, it is, it's about 12:19, and we're gonna wrap this interview and hope that we wrap that in enough time for you.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Okay.